Maya, you ever think about how many people want to get involved with civic engagement here in New Orleans, but don't really have a good pathway in?
Yeah, I think that's a roadblock for a lot of people in the city.
Yeah, that's why I'm so excited to be talking to CBNO, or the Committee for Better New Orleans, because they have this great initiative called the Better New Orleans Block Party, which is this initiative that combines art, music, culture, and activism. And it's all done by the executive director, Nellie Catzen.
Cool. That sounds like a great mix. So let's bring her out to chat.
All right. Nellie, where you at?
Hey, Nellie.
Missions by
So yeah, so fantastic to have you in to talk to us. I really want to just dive right in and, really get to hear from you with the block party that you guys put on. Why is it so important now to start re-envisioning how we do civic engagement?
Well, I invite you to picture the typical civic engagement scene. Maybe we're at City Hall. Maybe you just paid $1 million for parking, $10.50 to park in the lot across the street because you don't know how long it's going to be.
It feels like $1 million.
It feels like $1 million. You're walking in, you go through the metal detector, you go down the hall, you find your way to City Council chambers, which is this big official-looking room with all of these people in suits, which, depending on what you do, might not be a normal position for you to be in, might not be a space where you feel comfortable. Probably, these days, you're the only one there, unless there's somebody else fighting about an issue. You get 2 minutes on the mic, and then you leave, and you're supposed to believe that the people who were in that room believed you, and that they're going to do something about it. I think 2025 has shown us a level of distrust and earned distrust, I'll call it mistrust, in institutions and people who are supposed to represent us. And if those institutions want to earn our trust and to keep our trust, and we want to, keep our democracy democratic, we're going to need to imagine a different way to connect with one another. And importantly, to show up and tell our electeds what we need done.
Yeah.
So I think there's never a bad time to reimagine civic engagement, but I think we've hit a certain low now.
Yeah.
Where not only is the process totally hard to engage in, sometimes intentionally, but the outcomes we're getting also aren't meeting the mark. So yeah, that's really been the impetus behind why we're doing what we're doing and why now.
Yeah.
I just have to say, came in hot with that.
Yeah. I was getting tired already just thinking about it.
I don't know if you've ever gone to City Hall, but the way you described it is so spot on.
Yeah.
And it is so annoying. I felt that in my boat and I was just exhausted.
Yeah.
Just thinking about having the park, walking in, trying to find which room, depending on what you're looking for, trying to find where you're supposed to go, and just also feeling like, is anybody in this building care about me?
Yeah.
Or what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is pay money to the city. And it's like, I'm trying to give you money. Help me help you.
Yeah.
And even then it's hard.
And so it is it makes you not want to be a part of it. And I think everyone feels that on so many levels, especially in this city, of how do we make life just a little bit easier for us? There are things that are working against us all, but how do we just let's just make rise? Yeah.
Or bring
Support
it
each
to
other.
the people more,
Yeah.
Instead of just it feels like you've got to go to it. Why can't it come to you,
Well, and that's what we're trying to do, right? Both help people access the levers of power in our local government and also bring those levers closer to where the people are. So one way we do that is by getting outside of City Hall. And another way we do that is by helping people understand where the levers are, which is the right room. Yeah. While we do have to live the process that we have until we've completely transformed it, how do we make sure that people can access that process and really have their voices heard?
For sure. So CBNO's history, what kind of gives you guys that knowledge, you think, or experience to help address this in New Orleans?
We are going to turn 60 next year as an organization.
Getting up there.
You're
almost going to,
I know, I look good.
I was going to say, you look great.
Hopefully you guys can apply for
We're looking good for 60.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking back 60 years, you're in 1966.
Wow, a lot of sixes.
A lot of sixes. But thinking back to that time, this was a time when New Orleans was rife with racial divides and challenges, where New Orleans was recently off of the backs, and it's still very much in the throes of recovery from the worst hurricane to hit the state in a generation, Betsy. And you had leaders coming together to say, how do we bring more of the people's voice into the halls of power? Sound familiar?
Deja vu.
There's been, and history is like this, right? We have been really at the table, and importantly, building a better and a bigger and a more diverse table for New Orleans since 1966. So we brought together at that time business leaders, pastors, community leaders, some of the people who were not yet elected but heading into elected offices, and influencers of those folks together to say, here's what we know needs to change. Policy research is out there. There's people who are saying this is what effective government looks like. This is what good government looks like. These are some answers to some of the problems that we're facing as a city. But why aren't we getting them done? Committee for a Better New Orleans was founded really to be that action arm, helping connect the research to the people and make sure that the people had a seat and a say in the conversations that were happening. After Katrina, we had a really big role in helping to make sure that as the city was planning our recovery and planning what we were going to be after we were all but wiped out by the repeated and overlapping failures of institutions, how are we going to make sure that people, average people, everyday people, and New Orleanians, importantly, had a say in those decisions that followed that crisis? We successfally helped bring together the Unified New Orleans Plan, which folks who were here at the time will remember as what was a pretty good connection of a lot of different voices at the table. We managed collectively to bring enough community voice to those processes to kill what was called the Green Dot Plan. Have you guys heard about this?
I've not heard that.
The Green Dot Plan.
This was a plan that people from out of town proposed.
I was going to say keyword.
Well, you're about to really hear it.
Uh-oh.
Because they came in and they said, well, looking at the data and the amount that each of these different areas flooded, here's a plan of the neighborhoods we would rebuild. And in some neighborhoods, like Broadmoor and the lower 9th Ward, there were just big green dots.
Are they saying they just wouldn't, this should be empty?
That should be parkland.
Wow.
That should be space that is, it's not a good place to build. It's not a place where you should let people come home.
Huh.
Girl, bye.
Exactly. I mean, and that's if you're looking at who's living there.
Yeah.
If you're looking at the history of redlining that made it so that people of color especially and people without a lot of wealth were settling in those places. This is all adding up, right? And it doesn't look or feel good at all. Committee for a Better New Orleans came together and said, you're not doing that. You're not doing that to us. You're not doing that without us. And brought a lot of folks to the table. So we have a legacy really of being thoughtful and strategic, understanding really the landscape of challenges that face everyday people in getting involved and having a say in our government, and coming up with the systemic solutions that will help us solve those over and over again.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And was the within all that, as the things evolved and as you came on board, were the block parties something that you kind of added to this, or were these something that kind of built, over time?
They're something that I added. And when I started in this role just over 4 years ago, one of the things that I noticed, especially in contrast to that post-Katrina moment, is in the years after the storm, people were ready to show up. They had faith in a process. They said, if I can just get a seat at that table, I can make a difference. We're now almost 20 years to the day into that process. And people are finding that the hope that they had put into that process, the time, the energy, the effort that they had put into the process didn't get them where they hoped to be.
Yeah.
And so recognizing that our current system isn't working how it used to, if it ever did work, was really what inspired me to think about how can we think outside the box and bring people together for whatever reason they will come, right? And use that as an opportunity to engage further. Meetings, it turns out, I don't know, do you love meetings?
Well, I mean, I guess
My
it
boss
depends.
is in the room, so yeah, I love meetings.
We
love
love
meetings.
Generally, I love a good meeting, and I think I can run a pretty good meeting, but a meeting's not a great place to meet somebody. New Orleans is a city of who you know.
Yeah.
We are probably not going to change that, but we can absolutely change, and in fact, we're better at changing than anywhere I've ever been. Who knows somebody? We're out there for a second line. We're out there for a festival. I was just out, saw a bunch of my neighbors at French Quarter Festival. We were just talking about how you saw me walking my dog, right? We're out there all the time. And so creating a brand new and probably sterile and probably boring and maybe far away opportunity for people to engage simply isn't working.
Yeah.
We got to try something else. I thought, let's try a block party. And it's going great.
Wow. I mean, I think too, the craziest part about it is like, there's all the little pieces of all the things that I've heard you already talk about, which is like, getting rid of the boring, and getting rid of the fluff. But also like you're saying, like with meetings, I feel like, it's not necessarily about like, I think I like meetings as far as like when it involves work. I mean,
sure.
But it's
meetings have a place in the world, but you are absolutely right. Of
outside of that.
If I want to get true community engagement or new people involved in something, I can't say, hey, meet me at the library or somewhere like it kind of goes back to how you opened about talking about City Hall and being in a space where a bunch of people are in suits and you're in a sweatsuit, right? Like that power dynamic and how it doesn't feel like you belong. Like going into a space that feels like a meeting, you're like, well, am I supposed to be in a suit? Is anyone like, how do I dress? What do I bring? Versus a block party feels like, well, I'm just going to bring myself and my sun hat, and I'm just going to go out and enjoy my day.
That's all you need.
Right.
Yourself and your sun hat. Call it a day.
Yeah.
Your kids, your neighbors.
Yeah.
Bring them all.
I can bring my kids, my neighbor. That's the other thing of like, you don't have to feel the pressure of like, well, what do I do with my kids or my family or, grandma, you can come too. Everyone can go to this space and enjoy it and learn something. And then also the other people you get to connect with. I went to the St. Roch Block Party and I saw so many nonprofits that we've worked with and people I got to reconnect with.
That's exactly right. That's fully why we do this. And you're right that you have to have a meeting at some point to get a lot of the work, especially the work of building a better New Orleans, done. For sure, a meeting will be a part of it at some point.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to encourage someone to come to a meeting if they already know and trust and get what you're about. And a block party is a fantastic way to do that. So we just had our second annual. I was so glad you were there in last month. And we had 25 plus community organizations out there with 350 people learning about the city's budget in a really fun, gamified way. We had the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council had a youth town hall at the block party where they were going around surveying people. It was so inspiring. These like 10th graders walking around, just New Orleans kids walking around and asking people, hey, is our transit system working for you? And, what kinds of jobs do you have access to versus need? Really hard-hitting questions about what our government ought to be doing.
And that data that you wouldn't have if you don't have that opportunity to have all these people in one space like this. And it makes it so much easier to collect that data when you have 300 people in one space.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just meeting people, but people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Everybody.
These are people.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, I think it ties together, when you talk about the gamified way of like looking at the city budget, and I know on it was signs that like listed out, it told the story of the city budget.
Oh,
and it was interactive that you could write what your feelings were on the budget of like, how do you feel that this dollar amount is put into this bucket. And so I really liked that because I was able to read what other people in this community thought and felt about this and what, like you just mentioned, like what are their needs, right? So, and that their needs align with like what I would also be writing on here. And so giving people like that platform of realizing, well, damn, we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
If you wanted to organize, that might be a good place to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like what we do. It's kind of like in video work, you want to hook someone in with something engaging and like that they're going to enjoy, but then the content is there to fill in after they start to get in.
Yes.
So, but I mean, what I definitely want to hone in on too is, I know we kind of touched around it, like some of the activations and things, but just to get from your perspective to kind of lay out more the block party and how it kind of works and how you weave in civic engagement throughout the block party. What are those activations and ways that you collect all that?
Sure. First, it has to be a good party, period. I have a committee that plans this block party, composed of people who live there in the neighborhood, as well as people who live it elsewhere and want to be a part of it. And so the baseline is good food, music, drinks, period. If you don't have those things and like enough shade, right, people's comfort and basic needs met, you don't have joy, it's not a block party. So we started there. I think that was the fundamental base layer that people are like, innovative. No, it's not. What's fun? Tell me what fun is. We're going to bring out some fun. So for our neighbors, what that was, okay, stuff for kids to do. So we had sidewalk chalk and we had giant checkers and Connect Four and dominoes and Jenga, right? All of those like big yard games that feel fun and outside of the norm. We didn't have a bounce house this year, but it's coming.
It's on the list.
It's on the list for sure.
All right. I love it.
Music. We worked with the Preservation Hall Brass Band, which was awesome. Getting that, they had the opportunity to get outside of the walls of Preservation Hall and into the community, playing for us, right?
Wow.
Rather than, I think they often play for a lot of tourist audiences, so it's nice to get out in the neighborhood. Some of the folks who played in the band this year also live in the area where we had the party, which was amazing. We had a neighbors band that plays reggae and R&B covers, also played. We had food trucks, mostly highlighting businesses that are owned by the city would call a disadvantaged business enterprise, businesses owned by people of color and women. So creating opportunity there as well. And we had beer. Because what's a good block party without a little fun, loose beverages to help adults hang and chill? So that was the baseline. And then, okay, how do you sneak in? And I say sneak because I think it's sort of a sneak. How do you sneak in? Because people aren't going to come for the civic engagement. They're going to come for the fun and they're going to stay for the civic engagement. So we worked with partners. I've been working in this space for a long time. We as an organization, of course, have been in this work for a long time. So we know folks who care about housing, who care about economic justice and criminal legal system reform and climate change reform, really creating the structures and the policies that are going to make a difference and who need, importantly, all of us to get involved in helping to make their work successful and helping to make it happen at all. So I invited each of those organizations out. We had about 25 that were able to come and encouraged them to do something interactive and fun. Because nothing kills a vibe like a brochure.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want a brochure. Give me a zine. Right? Give me a game. I want to play the game of life and learn about housing policy.
You want me to read?
No. Not at a party.
Get that out of here.
No. I want to have a conversation with somebody. We had,
I think someone had like a wheel like that you spin and like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
A spin wheel. You have like Post-its where you get to add your thing. You can add to the mural of your vision for a better New Orleans, right? Opportunities that get you outside of the meeting mentality, right? If it feels like a meeting, even if it's not in a library or church or city hall room, it still don't feel like a meeting.
Yeah. It's almost like and it'd be worse that way because it almost would feel like a bait and switch. If
Totally.
you're like, hey, come for fun. By the way, here's all this reading.
Yeah.
All right,
I need you to take this survey. Sit in this quiet room.
Everybody sit down.
Right.
There's going to be a quiz after,
Yeah,
so you better read it. Yeah, that's what it feels
Yeah.
like. Exactly.
So we're giving people a fun and engaging way to connect with the content that they might care about, giving them the hook, so to speak. And then they can take home or follow up with additional opportunities. They can later go to the meeting to learn about how they can plug in. But as a first introduction point, really bringing games, bringing activity to civic life, which should be active.
Yeah.
It's been
That's
fun.
awesome. That's great. Wow. What a breakdown. I'll tell you what, I'm ashamed that I missed it, you know? So next one,
Yeah. You in there?
I'm gonna be in there. Yeah.
Spin some wheels.
Spin some
music.
wheels. Oh, I love wheels. You let me spin some wheels, I'll spin them.
Of course, it wouldn't be our party if we didn't also have our civic education materials out there. So we have a mix and match game where you can pin the council person to the district. And if you don't know, you get to have a conversation of like, oh, why don't I know who my council person is? Which district do I live in and who represents me? How do I get in touch with them? There's somebody there to help you learn those things. You talked about the budget storybook as well. Which goes along with a survey of what you can do about the budget. We have a game that you can match. People know what the Constitution is, and they know what the president does, right? They know the president is the executive branch, and the Congress is the legislative branch, and all those things. But they may not know that as it translates down to the state or to the local level.
Yeah.
And so helping people know, our Constitution is called a city charter.
Yeah.
And our legislative body is called the city council, right? Just those basics of civics that you don't get in school, but in a more fun way to learn that information, a little bit more accessible.
Man, that's so true, because I remember I went, at one point I asked around when the last mayoral election was, I asked about 20 people just from different, like Uber drivers, everything, what does the mayor do? And no one could tell me what the mayor's job was.
Wow.
And it's just like, it's just so interesting to me how we really on a local level have no idea like what the responsibilities are. We all love to complain and we all love to point fingers, but we don't know what those fingers are they pointed at the right place for the right problems in the right, situations.
Correct. Because, some things are under the mayor, some are under city council, some fall out of both of their purview, and like you make a good point of like, who are we really supposed to blame if X goes wrong,
And who are you supposed to thank if it goes right? And who are you supposed to call to tell them how it ought to go?
Yeah.
Right?
Man, it just gets deeper and deeper.
Well, there's so many opportunities. I think that, especially in a moment like now where everything feels really at siege at the federal level, people are looking for ways to plug in. And I believe there's no better place to plug in locally, because my day-to-day, while it is influenced very much by what's going on at the bigger, higher levels right now, it's also influenced by my neighbors, by my council people, by how often my trash gets picked up and when, right? Yeah. By to what extent I can drive my car when it is raining, right? All of these things that really touch our lives at the local level, we really have a lot of influence over. And a big part of what we do is helping people see that and get involved.
Yeah. So what feedback have you guys received so far from neighbors and partners on how the block party is going?
More, please. Please more. When's the next one is what I hear.
That's great.
We had the block party actually on my block. And so I'm talking to people who experienced it all the time, every day. And the prevailing question that I'm getting is, when's the next one? Because people really have an appetite to get involved in this way, to celebrate with their neighbors. I've never seen the Neutral Ground more active in my 10 years of living on that space than when there's something like our block party. And so that's the first thing that I'm hearing. From advocates and the other organizations that were out there, I'm hearing a real gratitude for the joy in that space. I think especially now, especially when you're fighting for things that the federal government today doesn't want to see us win, getting an opportunity to connect with neighbors and to find the joy in this, what can be really hard work, has been one of the main things that I've heard from folks. Thanks for helping us find the joy in this work and to keep going, because we're going to need it as we move forward. And then the other major thing that I'm hearing is, how can we bring this to more places? So my goal is to be able to build up our capacity so we can create a toolkit for neighbors So if you are in Algiers or in Central City or in Broadmoor and you want to put on a party like this, there's a toolkit for how to do it. Our hope is that we'll be able to leave that toolkit, hopefully some funds to help support a neighborhood. And once we throw a party, say in St. Roch, we can leave behind that toolkit and that grant and the technical skills to be able to keep that party going and move on to another neighborhood to keep building that capacity. So one day you have, say it's March 23rd, say it's whatever season, maybe it's the spring, and every neighborhood you have an opportunity to civically engage by attending a block party, no matter where you live.
That's awesome.
That's the hope.
Yeah. I mean, that just really kind of hones in on the next thing that I'm really wanting to make sure gets out there is if people want to get involved with, whether it is help build one or a nonprofit that wants to partner with you, what are the best ways for other people to get involved with what you're doing?
They can follow us on social media at Better NOLA everywhere. We're not on Twitter or Blue Sky. We are on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn.
All right.
At Better NOLA on all of those places. They can visit our website at cbno.org and join our mailing list there or reach out to me personally. There's lots of opportunities to get engaged, whether it's on the committees that plan our programs or in an ad hoc way using the skills that you have. We'd love to have more folks join us.
So now I have a question that we all have to answer,
Okay.
which is, if you were to have your own party favor, what would it be for your block party?
Oh, okay. So if I was throwing a block party in my neighborhood,
what would your party
be
favor be?
my party favor? I threw my brother a birthday party and we got these little stirs with his face on them.
What? Like, were they like 3D printed or were they like?
They were like printed and then attached to these stirs.
Cool. Yeah.
So I'm like, what would be? I'd have to like maybe like someone in my neighborhood with a dog, like whoever in my neighborhood is like famous. You know how you have like community members who like everyone just knows.
Yes.
Oh, it would. What if you had one of like all the neighbors like faces? They all
yeah. Or like on my block there is a convenience store. So like it'd probably be like maybe if I could like the convenience store itself or Vivian, who's the owner of the convenience store, like she is someone that like everyone knows. So I think I'd do something like that.
That's pretty good. Dang. All right.
My brain goes immediately to a game of like, okay, you give everybody's different face to all of the different neighbors and you have to find whose face you have and have a conversation.
Whoa, now you just leveled it up, man. Oh my God.
That's what I do. I come up with games for otherwise mundane things.
Oh my goodness me.
That's a great... I'm gonna have to write that one down.
Yeah.
Me too.
That's legit. All right. Yeah. Honestly, for the next block party, that'd be the way to do it.
Is this a dream world where like the sky's the limit?
Sky's the limit.
Yeah, and you can go way past blue sky at this point. You can go any sky.
Okay. I would give everybody $1,000 check.
Okay, well, I'm going to that.
All right, universal basic income, here we come. Wow, all right, man.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
It would be
Money
really
is
fun.
fun.
It sounds fun. Sounds
Yeah.
really fun. And then, of course, the party's going to be a great party. But
Yeah.
if I could give anything to everybody who engages with our organization, it would be economic justice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Wow. I mean, that's all right. I gotta think of something better now. I mean, I was gonna say.
I love snacks too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna give everybody that was where mine was going, was like food oriented. So
or
like,
snacks. I mean, check
snack, or you could put like not like a golden ticket, but you could put $100 within a chocolate bar.
Okay. I love that.
That would be cool, and
That'd
then
be
one of them
very
has $1,000 in it somehow.
Sounds great.
Stuffed, it's $1,000 check. It's like gold. It's like Willy Wonka.
My family didn't have an Easter. We're coming on to Easter at the time of taping this. My family didn't have Easter with money in them, but I know people who had Easter eggs with money
in them. Yeah.
Maybe it's like that.
Ooh,
See,
is it a spring block party and there's money in the Easter eggs?
I love that. That's a little bit of a game.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it doesn't cause any conflict.
I mean, when money's involved. Dude, also, if you knew that was $1,000, people would be scrambling for those party favors.
I might do smaller amounts and let it just be kids and be like, let the kids play and like enjoy, because like they're just gonna.
Yeah,
that's fair.
No,
Yeah,
that makes sense. No,
because I will like elbow for.
Yeah, no, that's way
The
more
golden
creative than mine,
egg.
because mine would have just been something along food related. I probably would be like something for like either it'd be. I would want to like spread the wealth of like just knowing what good food spots to go to.
Oh, I love that.
And so like something along like giving that out while also giving them like maybe like a gift card to one of the spots or whatever,
Or having said spot be the food vendor and just giving out food, like that'd be cool.
Oh,
I love
a
that.
little secret. Like
Yeah.
they get like invited to a secret food pop up.
Oh, that's fun.
Nothing else.
Honestly, that is a kind of community wealth as well, right?
Yeah.
Knowing where the good spots are to go.
Mm-hmm.
That's a valuable.
It's either knowledge or
Yes.
connections.
Totally.
You had connections with yours. Mine's knowledge, and yours is spreading the wealth, which is
That's
I think
it.
is all good things. We need money, people, and more people, and knowledge.
People.
That's it.
People. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for
Thanks
joining
coming.
us.
Thanks for having me. It was
Yeah,
great
this
to
was
connect with y'all.
Yeah, you as well.
Thanks for listening to Missions Bayou, powered by Comfy Stone. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the podcast wherever you listen. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment, letting us know your thoughts and who you'd like to hear from next. We'll see y'all next time.